There's something that happens the moment both of them show up at the same feeder on a quiet Tuesday morning. The blue jay lands first, loud, chest out, wings slightly spread, already looking around like it owns the place. Then, a few seconds later, the cardinal appears. Doesn't announce itself, doesn't rush, it just arrives, sits on the branch, waits, and somehow, it feels like the most powerful bird in the yard. That moment, that tiny, ordinary moment that happens in backyards across America every single day. That's what this video is really about. Because these two birds have built completely opposite reputations among the people who watch them. Not because scientists decided so, not because of any field guide, but because of thousands of mornings, thousands of feeders, thousands of people sitting by their kitchen windows, noticing things, real things, behavioral things, personality things. And once you start seeing what they're actually doing out there, the way the cardinal watches, the way the blue jay operates, the choices each of them makes, you will never look at your backyard the same way again. Before we get into it, drop a comment right now and tell me, what city are you watching from? I want to know where in America this video is landing today. So let's start with the obvious question. Why do these two birds make people feel differently? It's not about color, even though the cardinal's red is genuinely one of the most striking sights in North American nature. It's not about size. They're actually pretty close in that department. It's not even about rarity, because both species are incredibly common across most of the eastern United States. It's about behavior. It's about the way these birds carry themselves, the way they interact with the world around them, with other birds, with humans, with silence, with chaos. The northern cardinal and the blue jay are two completely different personalities living in the same space. And once you recognize that, everything changes. Let's talk about the blue jay first. The blue jay doesn't walk into a situation, it arrives at a situation. There's a difference. Walking in suggests some degree of humility, some awareness that you might be interrupting something. Arriving suggests the opposite, that things begin when you get there. Watch a blue jay at a feeder. It doesn't just eat, it assesses. It looks around. It considers its options. And then frequently it does something that would be considered unacceptable at any dinner table. It just takes what it wants and makes everyone else wait. Blue jays are known to be extraordinarily bold around other birds. Smaller species will scatter the moment one lands nearby. Even birds that are technically larger, like some doves or thrushes, will often yield space to a blue jay because the jay radiates a specific kind of energy that says, "I will make this unpleasant for you if you don't move." And here's the fascinating part. The blue jay doesn't always need to actually do anything aggressive to achieve this. A lot of times just the posture is enough. The slightly puffed chest, the direct eye contact, the way it positions itself at the feeder before another bird has even decided whether to approach. That's not random. That's strategy. Blue jays are cognitively sophisticated birds, and their social behavior reflects a level of calculation that most backyard observers eventually start to recognize after enough mornings watching them. One of the most remarkable things blue jays do, and this surprises a lot of people, is mimic the calls of hawks. Red-tailed hawks, red-shouldered hawks. They do it accurately enough to genuinely alarm other birds. And researchers believe one of the reasons they do this is to clear a feeding area. Send out a hawk call, watch everyone disappear, have the feeder to yourself. If you've ever heard what sounded like a hawk in your yard and then looked up to find a blue jay sitting there looking almost bored, you've witnessed exactly that. Is that manipulative? Well, in the most generous interpretation, it's incredibly intelligent. Blue jays are members of the corvid family, the same broad family that includes crows and ravens, two of the most cognitively complex bird species on the planet. They cache food for later. They remember where they stored it. They've been observed in studies demonstrating planning behavior and problem-solving that goes well beyond what we tend to expect from backyard birds. The blue jay is, in many ways, the smartest bird that most Americans see every single day, and also the one most likely to be called rude or a bully by the people who watch it. Now, the cardinal. The cardinal operates on a completely different frequency. Watch a male cardinal arrive at your feeder on a cold winter morning when the yard is white and silent. He lands with a kind of deliberateness that feels almost intentional. He doesn't scatter everyone. He doesn't puff up or posture. He just lands, adjusts, and starts eating. And yet, something else happens. The yard goes a little quieter. Other birds tend to give him space without him demanding it. There's something about the cardinal's presence that doesn't need to announce itself the way the blue jay's does. Part of this might be visual. That red, especially against snow, against bare branches in January, creates a visual impact that requires no additional effort. The cardinal shows up and it immediately looks significant. Humans respond to that. But so, apparently, do other birds. Cardinals are territorial, especially during breeding season. Males will defend their territory aggressively against other males, and there's a famous behavior that many people have observed, but don't always understand. Male cardinals will sometimes fight their own reflection in a window or car mirror for extended periods of time, sometimes days. What looks bizarre is actually a territorial response. The bird sees another male cardinal and won't back down. That's not obsession, that's commitment. But outside of territorial disputes, cardinals have a quieter relationship with the world. They tend to feed lower, often on the ground or near it, or at feeders positioned closer to shrubs and brush where they feel safer. They're more cautious than blue jays. They pay more attention to their surroundings before committing to a feeding position. The cardinal, in behavioral terms, is more observant, more patient, more aware of its environment in a way that appears to human eyes almost contemplative. And this, right here, is why people often describe the cardinal differently than they describe the blue jay. Not as aggressive or dominant, but as present, watchful, calm in a way that feels purposeful rather than passive. Intelligence looks different in these two birds. Blue jay intelligence is loud. It announces itself through behavior, through the hawk mimicry, through the food caching, through the social maneuvering. You can see the blue jay thinking, almost in real time. Cardinal intelligence is quieter. It shows up in different ways, in the precision of their song, which males use to establish territory and attract mates, and which they learn and refine over time, in the way they adapt their behavior across seasons, in the way females, who are often underappreciated in popular descriptions of the species, are actually highly strategic in their mate selection and nesting choices. Female cardinals are one of the few songbird females who sing, and they do it beautifully. They'll sometimes sing from the nest, possibly communicating with the male about food needs. That's not a trivial behavior. That's a form of partnership. Blue jay social structures are also complex. They form pair bonds that often last for years. They travel in loose groups outside of breeding season. They have alarm calls that other bird species in the area have been shown to recognize and respond to. There's a kind of cross-species communication happening in a yard with blue jays that goes mostly unnoticed. Both birds are, in their own ways, deeply sophisticated. They've just chosen very different methods of being in the world. To us, here's something that changes the way most people think about the blue jay. Blue jays are often labeled as nest raiders, birds that will eat the eggs or young of other birds. And yes, this does happen. But research has consistently shown that it's far less common than the blue jay's reputation suggests. Studies of blue jay diet show that the vast majority of what they eat is plant material, acorns, seeds, nuts, berries. Actual nest predation, while real, is a small fraction of their behavior. The problem is that when it does happen, it's dramatic, it's visible, it gets remembered. A blue jay at a feeder is just a bird eating. A blue jay raiding a nest is an event. And human memory assigns more weight to events than to the ordinary. So the blue jay carries a reputation that's partially earned and significantly exaggerated, which, when you think about it, is fitting for a bird that already operates as though its reputation precedes it. And here's something about the cardinal that most people don't realize. Cardinals don't migrate. In most of their range, they stay year-round, through winter, through ice storms, through the grey, bare months when most other bright birds are long gone. This means that in the middle of February, when the yard is colourless and cold, and the world feels like it's taking a long, hard pause, the cardinal is still there, still showing up, still that exact same shade of red against the grey. People notice this. They notice it a lot. And it creates a specific emotional connection that migrating birds simply cannot build. The cardinal becomes, for many backyard observers, a kind of constant, a presence you can rely on. And that reliability has emotional weight. It might be the most underrated reason for why cardinals generate such deep affection. Not just the color, not just the elegance, but the fact that they don't leave. The way each bird interacts with human presence is telling. Blue jays are curious about humans. They'll watch you. They'll sometimes follow activity in a yard, especially if you're turning soil or moving things around, which tends to expose insects or disturb seeds. They're not exactly trusting, but they're observant. They'll learn the pattern of when you fill the feeder. They're aware of you in an active, watchful way. Cardinals are aware of you too, but they seem to process human presence differently. The typical cardinal response to a human approaching a window or stepping onto a deck is a still, alert pause, not immediate flight, just a reassessment of the situation. And then, often, a return to eating. Over time, with a regular feeding schedule, cardinals can become remarkably comfortable in close proximity to humans. Not tame exactly, but familiar. There's a difference between a bird that tolerates your presence and one that seems to have simply accepted that you're part of the landscape. Cardinals tend toward the latter. The sound each bird brings to a morning is worth considering. Blue jays are loud. That signature piercing call cuts through ambient sound with no apology. There's a reason people use the phrase loud as a blue jay, though interestingly, blue jays also have softer vocalizations, including quiet clicking and whistling sounds they make at close range that most casual observers never even notice. Cardinal song is something else entirely. The males whistle, long clear phrases that seem to bounce between notes with an almost musical confidence, is one of the most recognized bird sounds in North America, even among people who couldn't name the bird making it. It has a quality that feels like it carries, like it was designed to cut through trees and reach exactly where it needs to go. On a still morning before the day gets loud, hearing a cardinal sing from the top of a shrub at the edge of a yard is a specific kind of experience. It doesn't demand your attention the way a blue jay's call does. It earns it. So which one is more loved? Surveys consistently show the northern cardinal ranked among the most beloved backyard birds in America. It's the state bird of 7 states, more than any other bird species in the country. It consistently tops lists of favorite birds among casual observers. The blue jay doesn't rank quite as high in popularity surveys, but, and this matters, it generates an enormous amount of fascination. People who watch blue jays closely often end up genuinely captivated by them. The initial reaction might be frustration or mild irritation, but that tends to give way to something more complicated, something closer to respect. The cardinal is easier to love from the beginning. The blue jay is harder to love, but the love you develop for it, if you develop it, tends to feel earned. Maybe that's the real answer to the question. Both birds are extraordinary. They just ask something different from you. The cardinal asks only that you pay attention. The blue jay asks you to look closer than you expected to, and to be willing to revise your first impression. And here's the thing. Backyards that have both with the right feeders in the right season on a quiet weekday morning when nothing else is happening, those are the backyards where people sometimes just stop. Coffee in hand, nowhere to be. Watching. Not because they decided to watch birds that day, but because 2 very different personalities just happened to show up at the same place at the same time, and it turned out to be worth staying for. That's what these birds do. They make staying still feel worthwhile. Now it's your turn. Which one has won your yard? And honestly, which one has won you? Are you a cardinal person? Someone who values that quiet elegance, that steady presence, that feeling of being watched by something calm? Or are you starting to secretly respect the blue jay more than you expected to? Leave it in the comments. Tell me which one showed up in your yard first. Tell me about the time a blue jay cleared your whole feeder in one move, or the morning a cardinal sat in the same spot for 20 minutes and you didn't want to breathe in case it left. Those moments are real, and they're exactly why people keep coming back to their windows every single morning.